I am here today with Cyo from Quim, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today about Quim and the Quim products and kind of what we do here and how we work together and what you do. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on today. As Dr. Becky said, my name is Cyo Nystrom, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Quim. Quim is a self-care line for people with vaginas and people without vaginas who love vaginas. So we make plant-based vaginal health and wellness products. These products were really born out of my own struggles with recurrent vaginal health issues. So, I think a cycle that is very familiar to a lot of women is, you get a UTI, you have to go on antibiotics, excuse me, otherwise it'll turn into a kidney infection, which has happened to me a number of times. And thank God for antibiotics. We really need them. They'll take care of the infection, but they also wipe your body of all the good bacteria, leaving you a lot more likely to get a yeast infection. And so, years of enduring this cycle really got me thinking about proactive vaginal health and wellness. My mom and sister are both super susceptible to UTIs and yeast infections. And so I started thinking, okay, if this is the body that I have, and I can obviously make some updates to my diet and my lifestyle and, the type of like making sure I wear cotton underwear as opposed to, polyester underwear. But we really wanted to create products that actually helped keep you in good health. So you did not have to have as much of this reactive sort of mindset when dealing with these health problems. And we've tried to create products that hopefully will help you sort of nip those issues before they really become a really big problem. So our products right now, we make plant-based products. We do use CBD in 2 of our products that you carry. I actually have them right here. So we have Smooth Operator Intimate Serum and Happy Clam Everyday Oil. Both of these have CBD in them. Smooth Operator is an aloe vera based lubricant. I always tell people, listen, maybe not everyone needs CBD lube, but definitely make the switch away from a glycerin based lubricant to an aloe vera. It doesn't dry tacky, and because glycerin is a metabolic byproduct of sugar, it can really aggravate some of these vaginal health issues. So that is a little bit about what we do.
Welcome to Intimacy Unmuted, the podcast that discusses intimacy, women's health, midlife, and menopause unapologetically. Whether it's low libido, painful sex, or it's just not what you want sex to be, we will talk about it here. Today's podcast focuses on cannabinoids and their role in helping with painful sex, vulvodynia, endometriosis, and menstrual cramps. Learn more about how vaginal health and sexual health are changing and a little behind the scenes of Quim as a growing women-owned business. Fantastic. So I wanted to fill in just a little bit with how I ended up with Quim and how I ended up in sort of the CBD space, which is really fascinating to me. So in my practice, I see a lot of women with sexual problems and sexual pain, painful sex, both younger women, older women, postmenopausal, premenopausal, and there's a variety of reasons why women will end up with painful sex. It can be due to, low hormones from menopause. It can just be due to what we call vulvodynia, where it's just, women have a pain at the vulva and we don't see a lesion. We don't see any reason why. And it can be really super frustrating. And those poor women will see several doctors before they can, find something that works or find somebody that can help them. But the way that I ended up sort of in the cannabinoid space is in my practice. I used to be at St. Louis University. I had a lot of women come to me and say, my pain is gone when I use cannabis. My libido is better, my orgasm is better. So that sort of got me interested in cannabinoids. And now fast forward, it's probably been 5 years I've had an interest in this. I see the benefits of cannabinoids. So cannabinoids are both, THC and CBD, that in the pain realm. And there actually is a lot of good scientific data to show that cannabinoids help with pain. So when it comes to CBD, what we were looking for was something with, properties that could really help women with vulvodynia, where they have just pain at the vulva and we don't know why. And CBD actually binds to one of the receptors that's in the vulva that controls pain. And when I read that in a scientific study, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. So, for us, we searched for a good, reputable product, and that's how we found Quim, which we love. And a lot of our patients use it as a lube. You can use it as a lube for sex, but also just on a regular basis to kind of keep some of the vulvodynia symptoms of pain at bay. So that was like a long-winded story how we got into this space. So
no, I think it's so important to share, for us, you can buy our products on our website through a lot of different retailers, but I think a lot of my favorite relationships we have are with actual doctors. I think, when doctors choose our products over, a strawberry scented lube that also has CBD in it, I think it validates what we're doing, and that, all of our products are tested by a third-party laboratory to ensure that, the potency is that there are no heavy metals, that there are no pesticides, fungicides. And I think that, working with you, it's always so exciting to hear, and really warms my heart to hear that these products are actually helping people. And I think, one of the interesting things about starting your own product company and, designing products that were designed for your own use case, and then you put them out there into the world, and suddenly all these people come back to you and they're like, actually, like, it really helped with this, or like, I've been using Smooth Operator since I have been recovering from a vaginal birth, and I find it really soothing. And or, we have people who have told us, they're like, oh my God, I use Happy Clam whenever I have a hemorrhoid, and it really helps, it helps them heal faster, it helps decrease itching. And I think that I think that gets at sort of our mission and ethos, which is, plant-based products with gentle ingredients that have many applications. When you go into the feminine health aisle at CVS, each one of those products is so specifically targeted to one thing and is probably coming from a very reactionary place. And so it's probably, at least in my experience, a lot of those products, they might take care of one problem while causing 5 others. And I think when, our philosophy on it is working, we develop all of our products with a PhD formulation scientist. We work with doctors, we work with, OBGYNs or oncologists, people, because I'm sure, as if you're going through cancer treatment, regardless of how old you are, it will essentially set your body into early menopause. So, you have women who are getting diagnosed with breast cancer in their 20s. And, maybe they have a very active love or sex life, or maybe they just got married and suddenly, their reproductive systems are going through menopause. And I think, it's been really exciting for us, and I think really gratifying to be able to work with these groups and organizations, be them doctors or cancer survivor networks, or people who are doing studies on endometriosis and PCOS. And I think, in just doing it, you realize how common these issues are. And I think that that's something that we're just, when I was growing up, I felt so ashamed of my vaginal health problems. I felt like I was broken, like there's something really wrong with me, and I didn't really talk about it. And I think that, of course, we have to address the medical issues that are holding people back, but I think just as much, we need to talk about these issues. We need to normalize them, because they are so much more prevalent than people realize. And, I think it's just so important for women to realize they're not alone, and that people are making products trying to work on it. You may have to go to 10 different doctors before you get diagnosed with endometriosis, but I think that that's starting to change. I think that it's going to take some time, but I do think it is starting to change.
Yeah. And I absolutely agree with you. I feel like part of my mission here at Evora is letting people know that, vaginal health, vulvar health, sexual health is not shameful. It's just part of who we are, right? Like we're about food, shelter, and sex. That's why we continue to be here. And, I love that we can, do this and put it up on our YouTube channel and talk about sexual health and talk about vaginal health openly and let women know that, yes, there are physicians and other providers who can help you with things that come up. The vagina, it's just a body part. Shouldn't be shameful. It's just a body part. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
I think now that there are more women doctors and there are more women who are making products, I think we can control, we're taking back the narrative and, just being like, this isn't normal. This isn't something you have to whisper about. It's like, you can ask a man in your life to go get you tampons like that. The idea to me that is like embarrassing.
Right.
It just feels so outdated. And I think that's maybe one of the most exciting things about working in this field is seeing how many people are working to change this. I think that there's so many amazing companies, be it, ONut or Dame or Lioness Vibrators. There's so many amazing female founded companies that are working to increase pleasure, decrease pain, and destigmatize and like take shame out of the conversation because it has no place anymore. It's 2021.
I know. Yeah, no, there's been definitely a rise of femtech. And I feel like femtech is getting a lot of voice in the media finally. And thank goodness for that. There's a lot of good things out there now that didn't exist just 5 or 10 years ago.
Totally.
So that's wonderful. But I did want to ask you, how did you end up in the CBD specifically space? Like what prompted Quim to say, hey, we're going to, make some products that have CBD?
Yeah, so our first products, we launched them in 2018 and they had THC in them, and were only available through the California cannabis industry. So you had to go to a licensed dispensary to get them. And I was really, even before that, I was really attracted to the cannabis industry. I started working in the industry in 2015 because I felt like my type of consumer wasn't really represented. And additionally, I was raised by a single mom, and my father had gone to prison for nonviolent cannabis crimes when I was 4 years old. And I carried that with a lot of shame. I grew up, I didn't grow up with a father. And when California passed some pretty groundbreaking legislation in at the end of 2015, the end of 2015, and it took what had been a gray market economy since 1996 and essentially turned it into a highly regulated industry. And I saw an opportunity to get involved in that industry while the regulations and the laws were still being made. And in my mind, hopefully I thought of it as an opportunity for me to have some positive impact and help decrease some of the really negative impacts on the war on drugs and make sure kids, who are 15, 20 years younger than me, if their parents, if someone went to prison, that it wouldn't end their lives and they'd be able to keep moving forward. So there was a personal connection to the industry and wanting to, I think, right some wrongs. Not that I am responsible for the, I found my path. I'm not a legislator. I make products. And so, we launched those products in 2018. And around this in 2018, we were also featured on an episode of a TV show called Slut Ever. It's on Viceland. Silly name, but it really, overnight, suddenly people knew who we were. Our email list went from like 200 people to like thousands and thousands of people. And the majority of the people were from outside of California and they really wanted to try these products. And so we knew that
and
launching
the CBD or the THC products.
So we started with THC and then overnight we had all of these people who are like, I need this in Florida. I need this in Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, we need to develop CBD products. But we didn't want to just swap out the THC for CBD. We didn't want to just have like a diet version of the product with CBD. And especially in like 2019, a lot of that was happening. You're like, okay, let's put CBD in shampoo and charge $80 for it. And I think, we wanted to be really intentional around why we were putting CBD in our products and actually do that research and understand, okay, what how are we going to talk about this? What can it help with? So it took a while to actually develop those products and do it in a way that felt, I think, authentic and not just like throwing CBD in something so we could charge a lot for it. So that's how we got into the CBD space. And I think, launching the CBD products has just opened up the people that, we can work with so much. We have sold our products in Urban Outfitters and Nordstrom. You can't do that with THC products. So it allows you it allows you to reach so many more people. And that's really exciting. And I think, I'm excited about the products we have coming up. They won't be out this year, but yeah, stay tuned. Next year, we're bringing some more products to market, which I'm really excited about.
Are you able to talk about those products? Like what are they, or do you want to wait and keep it under wraps?
My business partner would definitely, I would be like, of course, we're doing this, and this. And my business partner would be like, keep your mouth shut until everything, all the formulations are done, all the testing is done. But I will say that their products that are I think they're in alignment with our mission and ethos, which is to create proactive self-care products that, encourage daily rituals and healthy, proactive daily rituals that hopefully make it, make it so that you have to go on antibiotics a lot less often, or, go on Monistat, or, go and get, we talked to a woman who has, I think chronic, I don't know if it was vulvodynia or vaginitis, but the treatment that she was getting was actually Botox injections into her vagina, to help those muscles relax. And listen, you got to do what you got to do. If you've tried everything, I'm definitely not the kind of person to, I think, to knock any medical procedures or any medications. I think, A, I'm not a doctor, so it's none of my business. B, everyone is on their own personal wellness journey. And I don't think there's no one path that works for everyone. And that can be a really frustrating thing. Like, what works for your best friend or what worked for your mom might not work for you. And I think the most important thing we can do is stay open, and keep showing up, even if it's hard. Like, stay engaged in the process. Like, pain doesn't have to, if you're having painful sex or debilitating menstrual cramps, there are options out there, and it might take a while to figure out the right one for you. But that's why, they're amazing doctors like you.
Well, thank you. So, you talk about painful sex and debilitating menstrual cramps, and I just want to bring up endometriosis.
Yeah.
And what endometriosis is where women can have the endometrium, which is the lining of the uterus that you shed each month, can end up implanted in the abdomen. And it causes terrible, painful menstrual cramps and painful sex. And when it comes to cannabinoids, there's actually a small amount of data about how cannabinoids, and especially THC, can lessen the pain due to endometriosis, because many cannabinoids are anti-inflammatory and analgesics and work for neuropathic pain. So there's a variety of ways that endometriosis causes pain. And really, cannabinoids, now, of course, because cannabis is not federally legal, and it hasn't been studied because it's been illegal for so many years. We don't have a lot of scientific evidence, but actually I believe that cannabinoids for the future, CBD and THC, are really going to be useful for endometriosis pain, which is huge because that's something that affects women's lives so much. And when you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you just have cramps, just take some Motrin. That is not going to fly. So I'm really curious to see where we end up in the future with endometriosis and treatment with cannabinoids. I was going to ask you, do you still have products that have THC in them? Or
we do. Yeah, we do. They're still available in California, and we are in talks right now to license those products and formulations out to other markets. As you probably know, the cannabis industry it's still federally legal. It is regulated on a state-by-state basis, so there's no interstate transportation. So it makes it really hard, especially if you're a smaller business. So what we are trying to do is partner with, a larger company that has operations in multiple states, has operations in Canada, and that would allow us to license those products out. So hopefully in the next year, we'll be seeing that. It's a long process. You want to make sure you're doing it with the right partner. I think these products are so important and so helpful to the people they need them. And you also have to remember the majority of people who are going into a dispensary are not there for their they're not there to get an infused lubricant or, maybe they're looking for a topical to help with menstrual cramps, but, our market share, sexual wellness products infused with cannabis compared to vape cartridges or flower edibles, it's maybe 2%, which still, if you look at the, cannabis is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So even at 2%, we're still talking about the opportunity to have hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. But because it's so siloed, it's really hard to cross those geographical boundaries. And everyone has very different everyone has different packaging requirements, different advertising restrictions. So that was a long answer, but yes, hopefully we will. Yes, we still make THC products. I am very passionate about them, and we will eventually get them to other markets. It might take some time though.
Did you ever set out to become, a business owner like this? Like, did you ever think your company would grow to, like sounds like it's taking off gangbusters. Like, is that how you?
I don't know about that, but I started making my own little vaginal health products when I was 23 or 24, and they did not have cannabis in them. I was making little tea tree vitamin E suppositories with candy trays that I had ordered off of Amazon, little gummy bear looking things, and they turned out really badly. But I needed something. So I spent so much time researching. I was like, okay, what can I do for proactive stuff? I would go to Whole Foods. I would find one product that worked and I could never find it again. I would call the manufacturer, be like, can I get more of this? And they're like, oh, we actually don't make that. Or, and so I don't think when I started making my own vaginal health products, I definitely did not think of it as a business. It was years of even making infused, infused cannabis oils that had a little bit of tea tree in them. I would just put them in little mason jars, give them to all my girlfriends. Every time I went to a party, I was like, you should try this. And people would be like, what? This weird oil that smells like weed that you're giving, that some random girl at a party is like, put this on your vagina, into your vagina, put it on your vulva. I think people thought I was really crazy. But I think that most entrepreneurs who are really excited about what they're doing, the early days, everyone thinks people are just going to think you're crazy. And then it was, probably a few years of that before some of the girlfriends of mine started coming back and they're like, so remember that mason jar you gave me? I'm going to need more of that. And I think it became really clear to me that, okay, maybe I spent the last 10 years in this really painful cycle and doing so much of my own. I was the guinea pig. I tested all the products on myself. I put some weird stuff in there at the beginning and was like, oh, no, that's not good. Or, way too much tea tree or the wrong strain of weed that just smells like skunky. And so I really had to be I was my own Goldilocks. But yeah, so no, I don't think I ever thought that would be what I was doing. I think I always did, I think I did want to be at the helm of my own ship.
Right.
My mom is an entrepreneur. And so I think that, I think I knew that I would only be happiest if I got to really control my own destiny. But I had worked at a lot of really cool companies and I loved the mentorship that I got and I feel so grateful. And I'm still in really good, I still keep in touch with all of my former bosses and they're the ones I call when I'm like, how do I deal with this situation? So I'm very grateful for the community and yeah, I'm really grateful that I get to do something that I really love and that I think helps people, I don't think of myself as an altruist. I'm not trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to take the lessons that I've learned in my life and share them with other people in the hopes that maybe they'll help a little bit. And if not, there are a lot of other things to try. I'm not, we can't be the solution for everyone.
Right. But I think what you're doing is amazing though, because you're definitely helping people. And, I can tell that you're very passionate about that. And I think that makes all the difference in the world when it comes to, creating products. I mean, you clearly care. And I think that's wonderful. I was going to ask you, what do you think is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur or a business owner? I'm so curious.
Yeah, I think it can feel, I mean, particularly with COVID in the past year and like working from home, which like I've actually really enjoyed working from home. We got a dog. I can like take on many walks throughout the day. But I think, when you're your own when you're an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. And there are moments where you're like, you have to make a lot of decisions, maybe not every day, but on a monthly basis, you make very clear decisions about, okay, are we going to invest in this part of the business? Or are we going to invest in this part? Are we going to go raise money from a bank or from a VC firm? Are we going to hire this person? Or are we going to hire that person? Are we going to, is the future of the company in THC products? Is it in CBD products? Or is it in neither? It's just in plant-based products. And I mean, I think that's why it's so important to have people you can call and be like, what do you think? And always like, take it with a grain of salt. Like I will ask people what they think, and not because I'm going to take the advice necessarily, but because I just, if multiple people say the same thing, I think it's something to at least consider. But, maybe, there have been many times in our business where 10 people have told us to do one thing and we did the opposite. And that was the right move for us. So I think the hardest thing is, is making those decisions. And I think having faith, that you're doing it the way, I think trusting your gut. You're just like, I actually know better than anyone else. And that doesn't mean like, cause it's my company. It's like, I get to decide. And that's both incredibly liberating and terrifying.
Yeah, I totally
agree. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's amazing. I used to be in traditional medicine at St. Louis University, and I left to open Evora Women's Health. So I'm always fascinated by people like you who've, created this company from scratch and watched it grow, because I kind of see that's what we're doing with Evora. And I just find it interesting, how just sort of how you've learned along the way. And it's true, the big decisions you make, and your business best. Definitely. Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
And like I think the early days, like the early days before we were paying ourselves, before we had any employees, when it was just my business partner, Rachel, and I, they're just, and particularly, the cannabis industry has so many different regulations, and they're changing. It's so new. It really still feels like the Wild West. And we developed this mantra that we would just say to each other whenever we got like another curveball. And we would just always tell each other, we're riding a snake, not a train. There are no regularly scheduled stops. Like it's we're riding like a giant sea serpent, and all you can do is is build your core strength, because that is going to help it feel like you're not going to get knocked off a snake. If your core is strong, and I think for us, our core is our relationship, Rachel and I's relationship. How are we understanding the way we problem solve differently, or the way we go after, how we think about things differently, and make sure that we're supporting each other in that, and not, I think, trying to control the way we problem solve, because I think it's actually our greatest strength, the fact that we're so different and the way that our brains work so differently. And yeah, I think remembering that, there are going to be major hurdles, and it's kind of, if you can get on board with that, it actually becomes pretty fun.
Right.
You're like, it's so rare that something is an actual emergency. And I think we have to, this sort of cult of busyness, I'm always so busy, I can't do that. And it's like, I think that you get to choose how you spend your time, and you can work a 16-hour day and not feel stressed about it if you're, if you like doing the work, and if you're, we're not curing cancer, and we're not sending people, I think, yeah, the products are important, but I think it's really important to bring, a good attitude to it.
And I know you say you're not curing cancer, but you're doing a lot of women a lot of good.
Yeah, so. I hope so. And I'm just glad I get to do that. And it's, we get to talk about vaginas and vulvas all day and name products Happy Clam and like it's fun,
Right.
it's pretty fun. I think that there has to be a certain level of irreverence, and it's just a body part. It's not something to be embarrassed about, and you can have some fun with it.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want our listeners and viewers to know about the Quim products or the Quim line?
No, I don't think necessarily about the Quim line. I mean, definitely follow along on Instagram. Instagram. We're at its.quim, its.quim. And if you sign up for our newsletter on our website, you'll also get all of the updates about new products. And I think probably the last thing is, if your doctor isn't listening to you, find a new one.
Yes.
If you're experiencing really painful sex or debilitating menstrual cramps or any number of issues that you have talked to your doctor about and they're not listening, you can get a new doctor. And I encourage everyone to do that. And it's hard to advocate for yourself, but you have to. And you deserve better.
So with that said, if you feel like your doctor's not listening to you and you have painful sex or any sexual problems, there's an organization called ISWISH, the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health. And all the providers that are part of that are well trained in sexual problems in women. And you can just type in where you live and you can find an ISWISH provider. And there's even a fellowship.
So cool.
Yeah,
oh my God, I didn't know about this.
Oh,
wow,
you need to know about ISWISH. They're amazing. They're
cool.
advocates for women's sexual health. They're a scientific organization. So anybody who's like their doctor's not listening to them or they just don't know, because the way that I look at medicine is you can't be a specialist in everything. And so your regular OBGYN may not really know what you need. So definitely go to the ISWISH website, ISSWSH, to find a provider.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me on today. This was such a pleasure, and I learned so much. Always when I talk to you.
Me too. Thank you for being a guest. This has been fantastic.
Amazing. Well, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see you later. Thank you for listening to today's podcast of Intimacy Unmuted with special guest Cyo Nystrom, CEO and co-founder of Quim. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's episode. Follow Evora Women's Health and Quim on social media, linked in the description below. Visit evorawomen.com or itsquim.com to purchase your Quim products today. Until next time, unmute your intimacy and stay sexy.